Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Growth Minded Contractor Show. I'm your host, Ryan Groth, and I have an important person today that's going to be sharing and shedding light on the roofing industry. McKay Daniels is the CEO of the NRCA. He worked alongside Reed Ribble for quite some time and now has taken over the helm. NRCA is the National Roofing Contractor Association. It's the most in touch with anything nationally that affects the roofing industry. There are sister and other type of chapters that are on the state level, and there's affiliated organizations on the county level or local level, and they'll address issues concerning those states. Whereas NRCA focuses on the entire country and what kind of federal things are impacting the roofing industry. And over the last several years, we spend time and money with them. We go to the IRE, which is something they put on. They have other awesome organizations. Anybody who really cares about the industry and all of the political ramifications and things like that are involved with the NRCA. And McKay is running that organization. So being here is important, and to listen to what he has to say and following what they're doing at the NRCA. If you're not a member, we encourage you to join. McKay, thanks for hopping on and spending some time with me today.
Hey, Ryan, this is great. I really appreciate the invitation. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. The quick bio of who's McKay and how did you get into the roofing industry, just to give us an idea of where your background is.
Sure. I studied business in school and always intended at some point to go work for IBM or Dunder Mifflin type thing or something. And through a series of poor life choices, I got into government and politics, of all things, man. I spent 25 years in and out of Congress and state governments and state legislatures, in part because I wanted to make a difference, right? And try to make tomorrow a little bit better for the constituency that I was working for in Wisconsin or California or Nevada. That's how I met Reed. I was his chief of staff in Congress. When he announced his retirement, he's like, "Hey, you should come to roofing." And I said, "Roofing sounds awesome. Chicago, I'm a little iffy on." So I stayed in Congress for a little bit longer and worked for another member as their chief of staff, but then came to NRCA and roofing in 2018. It's been the best thing I've ever done. I don't have to tell you, but I mean, roofing contractors and this industry is awesome. The pragmatic mindset, the see problem, fix problem, just go get it done type posture is really invigorating, especially coming from 20 years in politics and Congress and all of that nonsense. It's finally great to be in a place where the world makes sense a little bit. But the mission of trying to improve things and advocate for constituents carries on. And especially, given the introduction that you gave about NRCA, that's in large part, I say I'm now part of the roofing party, right? I was in Republican politics for 30 plus years type of thing. And now I'm in the roofing party rather than people from Wisconsin, California, Nevada, wherever. It's roofers nationwide and trying to fight for them, advocate for them, make their world a little bit better tomorrow than it is today. And it's been great. At the association now for going on 7 years and in this role for about 3, loving every minute of it.
That's awesome. I love that. The roofing party.
It is.
It's the roofing party. And I love that you described our members in our party, the roofing contractors, as see problem, fix problem, get after it. And there is a mindset that I love about them as well, that I'm just thinking about your world of all this talk and no action, of all these ideas and all these policies we should have, and all this like fluffy pitching. And I'm just thinking about all the back scratching of this, and I'm like, you're just like, man, it's so refreshing to just like take action and get stuff done, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, in politics, it's the opposite. It's see problem, blame other person for problem, ignore problem, make problem worse, start over again the next day.
That's awesome, man. I love that. That's awesome.
Whereas, the contractor's to-do list, it's long and it's heavy, and it's, there's no time to sit and argue about fake pretend stuff. It's get after it and get it done, because there's another issue that needs to be solved right on its heels type of
Love
thing.
that. So when we look at the roofing industry and problems that we're facing today, now, I think that the trendy topics are private equity and there's AI. Those are things that service providers and marketers and leaders have to deal with. You are thinking about other things that are, certainly those are important, but you're thinking about other things that affect the industry in a different way. What are those things that we're faced with that people need to be aware of? There's things around insurance laws, there's labor, there's immigration, there's all the different issues there, education. What is it that you're seeing? Some of the biggest problems that the roofing party is taking action on that is going to benefit the contractor.
Yeah, you teed it up really well in that I kind of coming from a conservative mindset of, if the free market can solve the problem, we should let the free market do it, and let entrepreneurs go and build the widgets, the apps, et cetera, to integrate AI into a company and estimating or whatnot. But there are things that where I look at it as, if not us, then who? If not NRCA, then who? And that's where really tried to focus and drill down in trying to address those problems, because if we don't, they can fester, linger, or get worse. Advocacy is an important one. Fighting for the roofing party in Congress is something that, if we don't do it, our voice isn't heard in the same way at all. Our voice needs to be heard. There are advocates and lobbyists for every industry under the sun in Congress every single day, fighting for their issues and their perspective. And there's a famous saying that, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And that is definitely the case with Congress. And you see that, and not just Congress, but the administration as well. And you see that playing out right now. And I get asked about the most when I'm on the road and visiting with contractors, and that's immigration and workforce in general. Workforce situation in this industry has been challenging for a long time, and contractors have worked to get the job done. The new administration and posture on immigration, both illegal and legal, is making it harder for contractors each and every day.
Yeah.
If a contractor hasn't been directly impacted by it yet, don't rest on your laurels. You likely will be. The borders are for President Trump. Tom Homan has done a number of interviews, and he says, we're coming to work sites. We're coming to, his direct quote was something to the effect of, you're going to see a level of immigration enforcement that you've never seen before. I and everybody should take him at his word that the budget for ICE has gone from roughly $8 billion a year to $28 billion a year. That's a meaningful jump. To put it in perspective, right now there's roughly give or take, we'll say 6,000 ICE agents. This new budget increase adds an additional 10. So taking it to potentially from 6 to 16. And to put that into perspective, contractors spend a lot of time training on safety, which is important. Dread a visit from OSHA, right? There's less than 2,000 OSHA officers and inspectors in the country. And we're about to go to 16,000 ICE officers.
Business owners can tolerate pain. Like they're like, oh yeah, I'll pay them later. I get, like, people can tolerate a lot of pain.
Yeah.
OSHA fines are painful, right? Like it's painful when they start to go down this OSHA fine scenario. Sure. And then they have insurance issues, and now they got to pay this much more. So just what are we actually talking about here with ICE taking people off their, like, what does the contractor need to know about this? Yeah.
So I when I'm talking and visiting with contractors, it's a couple of things. Knowing your rights as a business owner as well as your obligations, right? You need to follow the law. You need to comply with what's being asked, and enforcement is real. Knowing the lay of the land, half a dozen guys in SWAT gear, show up at a job site. What do you do? Walking through that scenario, what you need to do, what you shouldn't do is really important so that you're not doing it on the fly. Number two, if it is a scenario where a third, a half, all of a crew gets, doesn't show up on a Tuesday or stops working halfway through on a Tuesday because there was a raid, what are you as a contractor going to do? What's your plan B in that scenario? What's your, in case of emergency, break glass operating tempo? Are your employees, whether office or field, aware of their rights and responsibilities, what to do, what not to do? Another aspect that's you see it on the press right now, the guys with long guns and M4s and, made for YouTube videos. But I think we will be seeing a shift, and this is just a guess, but I think we'll be seeing a shift over time. We'll call it more paper audits versus in-person audits or raids. My wife's a CPA, and when the IRS comes and audits one of her clients, 99 times out of 10, it's not a nerd with a clipboard showing up saying, show me all your receipts and open up your books. It's a letter in the mail saying, we've noticed this anomaly, this issue. Essentially, you're assumed guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
So in a practical world, it may be like, okay, we get raided, but like what they're actually going to do is say, Okay, well, we suspect or we are finding some sort of evidence that we have a strong position. Note that you have nothing but illegal workers, unless you could prove that they're all legal, you're going to face those consequences or something, right?
Correct. That, or the even more technical, it's an EIN audit, which exists today, and I think that will just grow in its usage. You talk about AI at the top of this. You can write a widget, a bot, a program that will just go and send out letters to half the country if an algorithm notices a problem. And now you as an employer are on notice, on the hook of proving that all of your I-9s are in order, proper, etc. And the fines there can get nitpicky and large in a hurry.
Do you know those fines and how that would do you know what that entails, those fines?
Similar to OSHA, it kind of goes exponential. It can start, $130 for a typo of a misspelling of a name. Hey, you've got McKay Daniels here, but you have it with two S's or it's missing an S. That's not the same. It depends on how nitpicky they want to be. It goes all the way up to perhaps criminally liable if you provide I-9s and the government says, well, wait a second, you as an employer didn't do your due diligence here and were grossly negligent in what you should have been doing to comply with the law, and we will both fine you and upwards of potentially criminal charges involved in it. I haven't seen criminal charges, or jail time or anything like that for an employer yet. But if it's egregious, I think you have to assume you can and will be held accountable.
It's wild. It's wild. Like we were at Win the Storm, which you were there as well, and Josie had turned around a great event, and had Charlie Kirk there. And not to try to bring up his name to change the subject, but Charlie was talking to a room full of roofers, and he basically was like, he's very passionate. He was about immigration, and he was extremely firm about the process of they should all be legal, and that they are not legal, they shouldn't be here. So he stands very strongly with Trump. And he had a room full of people that were all roofers that he was basically like, hey, you guys are all felons, right? You guys are all doing it wrong. And I was like, this is a wild moment here. Because I think Josie had to really have some backstage discussion to help him understand what's going on. And it's a real problem. It's like, we got to figure something out, because if we don't figure something out, you're going to have a bunch of Americans who don't want to work. And so now we're going to have, I'm sorry to say so bluntly, but a bunch of American citizens who not interested in labor on roofing. And they're either going to say, let's do it, and I'll be willing to take the massive pay increase I can demand because there's nobody else willing to do it. And then people will do it. Or there can be an expediting something that we can do to just find a way to bring in people legally.
Correct.
To solve this problem, because we all know that people from other countries are better at this. It's in their blood. It's what they do. And so they got to go back to their country. The dollar was providing for families in other countries. Yeah. They don't have that. They don't have that. So it's sad to see them leave, and they're not members of the cartel, or most of them probably are. I mean, they're not doing things. Right. They're not going around taking our children. I mean, they're just they're putting on roofs and protecting our buildings and homes across the country. And this is a huge part of what we're doing. It's a massive industry. So I feel so strongly about okay, well, you kick them all out, you know what's going to happen, right? It's we have to charge double. The homeowner, the American homeowner or building owner, is going to have to charge or spend a lot more on their services, because we don't have the labor. The skilled labor is going to be more in demand. They can figure out some sort of system to legalize skilled workers,
Correct. And that's where the president deserves credit for securing the border.
Sure.
He's accomplished something that has been talked about for years and years and years, and he actually largely did it. Border crossings are effectively zero. But right now, the government is just focusing, and you hit on it, just focusing on one side of the coin, which is illegal entrance to the country. It's not solving and not even considering that we still do need a workforce in this country. There is a housing shortage right now. The president talks about it regularly. He's wanting to bring manufacturing back, wanting to build it in America again, which is a noble goal and could help, grow our economy and have it go gangbusters. but you're not going to have a chip plant or a semiconductor plant or, build iPhones or any other thing here if there's not a building to produce it in.
Or homes that we can,
Homes to live in.
a huge
Right.
development. It's going to be the $400,000 homes. Well, who's going to build that? Who's going to put those?
Correct.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about agriculture out there and, the undocumented workforce that's involved in that. And that is very real. But the construction industry is a larger portion of the GDP than agriculture. And so at some point, something has to give. Right. And that's not to say that open up the border and have illegal crossings taking place or anything like that. We need to make it so that we have a viable market-based system for the workforce that we need to do the work that needs to get done. Otherwise, you think inflation 2 years ago and a year and a half ago was bad? Just watch from fruits, vegetables, meat, housing, roofs. We dodged a bullet this past summer with a pretty light storm season. All in all in the Southeast as a country. You go and play this out another year or so and have a traditional hurricane season. Who's going to be putting on and repairing and getting those families back into the dry in South Florida or South Carolina or Georgia a year from now?
If you were to put together,
conversation's not happening and it needs to.
So good. If you were to put together a big, incredible workforce proposal, to solve the other half of this coin of legalizing workforce market demands. If you were to say, Trump, I got your ear. Here's how much it's probably going to cost. Here's how much technology, the type of technology. Here's how, what would you say if you were to give us a description, high level of what your solution would be? What do you think? What comes to mind?
Well, there's a solution in Congress right now, and unlike 99% of the stuff going on in the world, it's got Republicans and Democrat support behind it. Okay. It's not a pathway to citizenship. Most workers that come here, they're not interested in becoming U.S. citizens. They want to work hard, make some money, send it back home to family, go back home and visit that family again soon, type of thing. They're just here to work. So the citizenship thing is largely, I think, a red herring. But it's a temporary work visas to allow somebody to come in, do the job, and go home or stay and continue to do the job, right? We have it in the tech sector for some time of if you can't find workers to do the work and you have to demonstrate that you're trying to hire anybody that will come in, right? You're doing your due diligence to fill these positions, but are unable. There's a mechanism to allow immigrants to come in to do that work. It was just reintroduced this session in Congress about a week or two ago. I want to say there's about a dozen or so members on it. And in the current environment, it's not moving, but that's the way most bills in Congress work. They're there to spur debate and conversation until they're ready to go and address a problem. And so at some point, I hope and pray that our elected leaders will go and address this side of the coin. It was since Reagan in the 80s that we last did immigration reform. And since then, it's just been a bipartisan, both parties, Republican and Democrat, have chosen to talk about it, kick the can, blame the other person for it, rather than fix it. And this president has the opportunity, and I think the credibility, to go and truly fix it.
Are there actual work visas already in place today? There has to be, right?
There are. It's resource consuming, both time and money and expertise to go through the process. And roofing is a little bit odd because in many markets it's not seasonal. Agriculture, it's bring in folks to do some work during a harvest time and then they go back. Temporary seasonal work. Florida roofs all the time. Arizona roofs all the time, right? So the seasonality is specific to construction or unique to construction, as well as dairy and other things, but construction feels it acutely. The administration presently has made it even more difficult, and there's fewer visas being issued. There's a number of contractors who have used this for a while. They dialed in, they figured out how to do it and navigate the bureaucracy, but they now get guys for 4 months rather than 12 months because of the bureaucracy involved in it. I hope that the president understands this issue. He comes from a background in construction, right? I mean, he's built a lot of buildings during his day. He comes from hospitality, which is also reliant on immigrant labor. So I think he understands our issue. The politics right now are just a little bit slippery, but I think you give it a bit of time and hopefully he'll step forward and say, we've gotten rid of the worst, right? That's the line that we keep hearing. And I chuckle because the roofer that's been here for 35 years and has a family I would not describe as the worst of the worst, but that's the soundbite. At some point, it'll pivot and say, but now we need to start building America again. And here's my plan to do it. Otherwise, our economy won't grow and inflation will be worse and unemployment will be worse.
That building America, that's a campaign right there. That was a good one. I like that. McKay for president, building America.
No, sir.
Let's go.
No, see, my ankle monitor is about to go off on talking politics too much.
What's in Congress that's not really making any headway yet is just more of a longer term and a faster process than it currently is, or something that more resources toward it for the purposes of construction or labor. It's more like
not necessarily more resources. Government advocacy, I kind of liken it to insurance, right? You have to pay the premium, you have to do the work to be in a position to act when it's time to act. That's what is, I think, going on now. I hope at some point government, president, and Congress will be ready to address this problem in its totality, not just the enforcement side. And when that happens, this legislation that's in Congress will be probably the starting point of what a solution could look like. But another issue there, talking about insurance, is insurance. That I'm attending meetings down here in the Carolinas the next couple of days with insurance industry leaders to hear the latest on the homeowner side of things and claims and losses and what they're seeing and the trends there, because it has a huge impact on our industry, on contractors, on homeowners. It's vitally important. Increasingly, the homeowner or the roofing contractor aren't driving the decisions for what goes on their roof. It's the insurance industry. And so it's vitally important that we're having those conversations and educating them on the contractor's perspective and the stress points that we are feeling, and hearing from them on the issues of resiliency and the increasing, strength of storms and storm damage out there. It's been a largely one-way slope of claims over the past few years, right? And the insurance industry, I think, is starting to raise premiums so that they're, out of reach of many homeowners, raise deductibles so that they're out of reach of many homeowners, put in exclusions so that, we'll cover your home, but the fine print, which if any of us read it, there's a lawyer in the house, says, yeah, we'll cover your home on its damage except for the roof. These are critical issues that are playing out today and are likely, left unchecked, only going to get more and more severe.
There's been some states where insurance has changed already, and it's impacted the industries and homeowners and contractors pretty greatly already. Is that right? Like, are you up to date with which states have made changes and what those changes were, like around insurance premium increases and things like that?
Well, Florida's tip of the spear on this one for sure. And in a lot of ways, Florida is struggling and a mess. They have to go in and change up their laws. It seems like every few months, trying to address the issue. But yes, I don't have the specific numbers here in front of me, but Florida, the southeast coast, one of the things that you see, it's in the building code more and more are a fortified roof, if you're familiar with that term. You got to fully seal the deck, increase nail fastening patterns, that type of thing. And that's already playing out. And that was driven by the insurance industry, but now governments are starting to adopt it. But in a lot of ways, as you see, as goes Florida, so goes other jurisdictions. This past legislative session or two in Florida, there was discussion from Florida's insurance commissioner, asphalt shingles specifically. And we've had to educate and address that issue. Metal roof, tile roof, they're great, but they can be far more costly than shingles, right? And just like our conversation on immigration, it comes to not all homeowners can afford $100,000 roof replacement. What do we do for the whole market, not just a segment of it? It's important that policymakers, those that are in the position of, in a lot of ways, deciding our fate as an industry, are educated and informed on it. And that's where the Florida FRSA down there, you talked about the state affiliates and local affiliates. They do a tremendous job representing the Florida specific contractors, and we're happy to work with them and help do the same in California with fire abatement and through Texas and the Midwest on hail.
Yeah. There's been some change in Texas, right? In certain counties, I think, with insurance, and then like Minneapolis, Minnesota as well. And it's starting to see states policy laws and things change.
Yes. And that's where it gets difficult for us as a national organization, as well as then contractors, right? If you cover a large a large area, knowing specific fire code, building code, et cetera. And it is in a lot of situations localized, county level, city level in some areas. That's a real challenge for the contractor, both to keep abreast of it, keep apprised of what's going on, and making sure that you're doing the right thing here and the right thing there, which may be entirely different. But yes, a lot of states insurance is regulated at the state level. It's not really the federal level. And so it's insurance commissioner by insurance commissioner. And then from there, building codes are localized.
Yeah. It's a lot to be thinking about. And you just, it's hard to really how it affects everyone, but it's like, from a marketing and sales standpoint, which is where I think I spend a lot of my time helping people with. It's like going from selling insurance, $1,000 deductibles to now you're having to
2% of your home, 3% of your home.
Yeah. And then you have to get sell financing. And it's like, wait, hold on. I can't just go door to door and do that the way I used to. Like there's a demand pull because of the price that people have really got to be ready for that. And now you have to kind of become less of a door to door team, and you're marketing through digital, which is like, man, you got to be able to convert those to have the budget for that. And it's just like, it's gonna shift. I just feel like there's been a lot of people who've been able to, with just brute force, become very successful in this industry. And I think you're a little bit more at the mercy of what the environment is, and you have to play that game. And I think people are having to reinvent themselves. It's going to be interesting.
Agreed wholeheartedly. But the brute force of, sheer will and perseverance that we see in this industry, you see it with your, in your circles and I in mine. And I have faith in the contractor and their ability to learn, see, do, adapt.
Yeah.
A contractor just last week said, man, if I really sat down and thought about all the risk I take on every day and how much this is changing, I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. So I just get up and I, go solve the next thing on the list, and you just keep going.
I love that.
But another contractor also talked about that they were in their company adding a finance arm, right?
Yeah, have to pay. Financing is gonna go crazy now. It's gonna definitely be a big part of the strategy. People are doing it more, and it's the percentage of revenue that's financed is increasing and having to be. It's important. I love the faith you have and the belief you have in the roofing community. I feel that your love for the people. I think your admiration for them is super. It's super cool. I feel it even in that comment, and I'm glad that you're at the helm. It's really cool what you're doing.
Well, I think the faith is well placed. It's not faith without works. It's faith seeing the works each and every day.
Yeah.
Type of thing. If we had 435 roofing contractors in Congress, we'd solve a whole lot of problems in about a week and a half. So you should run, Ryan.
One day, maybe not. No. In fact, moving over here where I live in Hawaii, it's been really interesting. The politics here and just getting to know. I've met some congressmen here and had some meetings, and it was like, man, maybe one day there's a new chapter I could turn and get involved. It seems interesting. I was like, does stuff get done? Maybe I can get stuff done, and you start to think maybe you can, but. Yeah, because one of the things I was requesting is, and this is off subject here, but I was starting to dig around and try to find out if, as a homeschool family, if we can be, and we love certain sports, we love baseball, can we play local baseball as a homeschool student?
In the school league type of thing?
The local public school. Can we play for that school while being homeschooled? And the answer is no. So in Hawaii, we're one of the few states that you have to be enrolled in the school, or you have to be in like a Department of Education charter school. And that charter school can then therefore allow you to play at the local zone school. And I'm like, man, that stinks. I'm from Florida. Like we have all kinds of freedom over there. So being from Florida and going to Hawaii, I'm like
Florida and baseball, right? You're feeling this one deeply.
Yeah, that's like, so there's a lot there that I'm trying to unpack. And so then it started to open up more and more conversations around things around, locally that it's just fascinating. I appreciate the politicians that are doing their part. And I know you're not directly doing that anymore, but you are advocating for us. So thank you for the industry.
No. Staying on that subject, though, I have to assume that's at the school district level, not state, right?
It's state.
County, city?
It's state level. I believe.
Oh, wow.
So when I spoke to a member of um, Hawaii, what is that? The House of Representatives member, I believe.
Yep.
He was like, I think you have a better chance of trying to get Trump to fulfill some of these national or federal motions toward homeschool advocacy. And
Mm,
he's like, you have a better chance of getting this done that way than
yeah.
going through Hawaii because there's such a mindset and a support for the Department of Education. So anyway, I was like, man, this is a whole new world. This is a big world over here. And they're like, yeah, then budgets are being decreased on the Department of Education. And what does that mean? And it just got down a big conversation. But
You're in a pretty blue state.
yes, I sure am. Super great to have you. Thank you so much for your time and
No,
sharing.
this was great.
Hopefully, you share with who you like, but we'll get the word out and get this conversation out to the folks who listens. Thanks, McKay. Appreciate everything. And if you guys are not members and you're a roofer, get involved. They even go to DC every year and lobby and unite and express all the things that we're trying to solve, just like what we talked about today. You'll meet some people who are really awesome contractors who care, spend their money, get out of there, get on a plane and go fight for the industry and talk
Your
about it
voice needs to be heard.
for sure. Thanks everyone. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Thanks.
McKay. Talk to you later.
Be good, Ryan.